All right, welcome everyone. We'll just give it about a minute here for everyone to load in. In the meantime, just touch through the typical stuff here. So the chat's available to everyone, so you can chat not only to the hosts but to everybody else. We are recording this, so recordings will definitely be sent out. And what we'd love to ask is, banter, fun stuff. Keep that in the chat. If you have questions you would like us to actually answer as we go through the webinar, then please use the Q&A that allows me to keep track and then make sure we either answer everything as we go along or follow up with answers that way. I'll give it another little moment here as people load in. Seeing the attendees creep up here. I'll give it another moment, see when they slow down. All right, it's been about a minute. I think most people have loaded in, so let's get things kicked off. So first of all, I'll introduce myself for those of you who are new to Augment. My name is Robbie. I'm VP of Product here, and I've got Dean joining us today. He's with the RoboPack team.
Hey,
Uh,
I'm
Go ahead.
Dean. I'm part of the RoboPack team, so I'm VP of Community and Product Strategy here at RoboPack. So happy to be here.
Thank you very much, Dean. So let's get things going, kicked off here. So a little bit about Augment is we'll touch on here. We want to tell you a little bit about the Augment story and how we've got into Intune. Then a little bit of introduction around RoboPack, and then why we're doing a better together story and integration. And then you'll get a live demo of RoboPack itself. So starting off with Augment. So we are a Microsoft security and compliance tool, right? For all you MSP providers out there that are feeling the burden of managing Microsoft 365 across your customers and being able to, provide that compliance evidence and monitoring across the product. This is what Augment does. So we, make security extremely visible. We make it scalable to actually manage the environments and we make it easy to communicate with your customers so that that can help scale and grow your business. So from an Intune perspective, when it comes to compliance and environment configuration, we do a lot of tenant level management. We do policy configuration. We build out conditional access. We have Defender, EOP built in, and we've been working on Intune for quite some time. We just recently released app protection policies, and actually, since these slides were made, app configuration policies have been released in the product. We do device compliance, device configuration, profile deployment, and our roadmap currently includes apps and scripts management. And this is where it ties in very well with RoboPack. We all need to push scripts, do a custom app here or there. But definitely on the application and patch management side of things, there's a better way to do things at scale and across your customers. So I'll let Dean touch on how RoboPack takes it from there and do a quick intro around RoboPack, and then what we're planning to do from an integration perspective. I'll take over that.
Cool. So yeah, RoboPack is a Danish company. It's actually around about 20 years old. Started with a product called Software Central, which was a way to make the admin experience for SCCM better because it had problems with getting access to the console, and you had to have a lot of permission into SCCM in order to be able to do things, and it didn't have really a web console for admins, and so Software Central was a web front end to SCCM. When Intune came along, they saw an opportunity to solve the Intune app patching problem because Intune is great at app packaging. If you have an Intune tenant and you need to package an app, you can do it and it's fine and you'll enjoy it once and then do it again and you'll start to realize that you never want to do this again. And so the problem is that for enterprises managing lots of apps with lots of versions, it gets monotonous and tiring, and they start to become less diligent when it comes to app packaging. Multiply that with an MSP across multiple enterprises, you've got a lot of work to do, and it's not fun for anyone to do that. And you can automate it, and it's very simple to automate it. The solution I'll show you today is very simple, and it's very transparent as to how it works. And I invite any questions as we go along because we love talking about the product. It's a very simple to use product, and hopefully you'll see the value of it when we come to show it.
Thank you. This is where our roadmaps converge. We want to, we've had plenty of partners at Augment already ask us about patching within Intune, when we talked about application policies. I believe RoboPack has had partners ask about multi-tenancy, CSP and GDAP integration and deployment. And this is where the marriage happens. We can both go faster by leveraging Augment's CSP and GDAP integration to pre-populate tenants in the RoboPack environment so that you guys can bring automated patching to the table. So with that said, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean it is the solution that RoboPack has built is natively multi-tenant, but you still have to get permissions into each of those tenants in order to add those tenants into RoboPack. And depending on how you are scaling in your MSP to manage multiple customers, that could be a lot of work. And again, just inconsistencies come along as you do that manually. So it's great to have a partner who can jump in and do that at scale and consistently for us.
That's a great point. And for those who are new to Augment, again, we have a full GDAP permission builder within our tool itself. So you don't have to be leveraging the partner center. We request least privilege permissions. We'll include additional permissions once we bring RoboPack into the mix. And then we roll that out to the CSPs very easily with, import capabilities, the ability to um, delegate the permissions to your security groups, and that'll allow that to simply pre-populate tenants within RoboPack, supporting their or utilizing their multi-tenant infrastructure. So from here, it's demo time. Dean is going to show us RoboPack. I'll let you take over the screen share for a moment.
All
Again,
right.
any questions coming up, pop them into the Q&A, and we will get them answered as we go along.
Awesome. Yeah, just drop them in. I'm happy to be interrupted, so please do. Hopefully, in a few seconds, you'll be able to see the
Yep,
RoboPack screen. Awesome.
you're good.
As I said, it's a very simple solution, and we have three main buttons. So focus on these rather than the left-hand side for now. We will go into each of them as we go through it. But I want to show you really the first step, which is once you've got your tenant connected, I'll show you connecting tenants as we go through the settings. But once you've got your tenants connected, you need to manage apps. And one of the worst things you have to do as an MSP is ask your customers which apps they care about, because they're going to have a list and it's not going to be right. And you need to ask again, and they need to come at you with CSVs and lists that they've got from various different sources. And so we want to help with that because Intune collects that information. It collects it from discovered devices. It collects it from the Intune apps that are already there. If the customer has a CSV, we can collect it that way. But the whole point is that we can take that information for you and put it somewhere useful. We have that place called Radar. And Radar is our way of scanning Intune tenants for apps that the customer cares about and matching it with our library. So I've got a few tenants here. I've got the MSP tenant up here, which hasn't got any devices in it. It's just an example of an MSP. It's actually only recently been added for this demonstration, so it's very, very fresh. But these are the customers. We have the demo tenant and we have the dev tenant. These are going to have the devices in that we're going to be patching. And if I go to the dev environment, for example, we have a list at the top here called apps ready for patching. I said it was very simple to understand what we're doing here. These apps are ready for patching. These are the ones that are not only in our library of 30,000 applications, they are also in the customer's environment because they care about them. They are either in this list because they're an Intune app, which is an app that is in Intune, but not necessarily on devices, but definitely not currently being patched. or it is a discovered app. So it's a device, an app that has been discovered on devices that is scanned by Intune. And this obviously will be on a device because that's how it's been discovered. Regardless of how the apps got here, they're in the library. We can patch them. It's very, very easy to do that. But before you start patching these apps, you're going to need a structure. You can't just say, right, today we're going to start patching 7-zip for all of our customers. You need to understand for each customer how they want these apps to be deployed in their environment. So you want to build that first. So we have the information, we're ready to go with patching the apps. We just need to figure out how we're going to do it. So we start with a patch group because as you can see, all of these apps individually allow me to create a patch flow. But I don't want to create a patch flow for every single one of these apps because in this demo environment, I've got 50, 48. If you can imagine, your customers will have more than 48 probably. So we aren't going to expect you to click those buttons every time and make the same decisions. We want to make it simpler. So we go for a patch group. I've got a few here that I've already created. So we've got Business Unit 1, Business Unit 2, a fast track for CVE deployment if we know there are any CVEs in a particular application. We have regulated apps. We have standard app deployment without deferral, with to company portal, standard deployment waves to all devices. The point is we've got many different ways that you can deploy depending on the customer. And so I'll add a new patch group just for you now as we go through it, and we'll call this MSP standard app to all customers. I'll type properly. Customers with VM testing. It doesn't matter what you call it. I made that up as I was typing it. We are going to deploy it to the first deployment wave. I added here. This is wave 1. And it doesn't matter what you put in this group. You could put all devices in this group for all customers. And I could just choose the 2 customers here and choose all devices, and there we go. That would be insane. So don't do that. But you could. And we're not going to tell you that you shouldn't. You shouldn't. We're not going to stop you. So we can remove those and think more correctly about how we deploy in the first wave. We would probably deploy to the MSP tenant first, I would at least, and I would go, hey, I've got some virtual machines that are always running that have just Windows 11 on it. I want to make sure we test on those devices first before it goes anywhere. And so once we have 60% of those VMs and 100% of those are successful, I maybe want to give it a day or 8 hours before it moves on to the next wave, because I'm pretty certain that I would figure out if there's any issues based on this VM testing. Now, this might be VMs in your customer environment as well. You can have more than one group in here from different customers. So you could have, I've got an IT pilot test here for my customer here. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying it's completely up to you. The idea is that once we've tested, we then move into some production rollout. And if you've heard of Windows Auto Patch or Windows Update for Business, as it used to be known, we have deployment rings. And that's exactly what we're building here, just with groups from Entra from multiple tenants. So it's a little slightly different. But we're going to go and do another group here. Maybe do my Canary pilot users from the MSP, and then also maybe my app pilot users from one of my customers. They've got a nice set of testers that they like to use first. And then once we're finished with wave 2, we can go to wave 3 and deploy it to all devices across the entire estate. And that's going to work for whichever apps I put into this group. So this, if I choose save, is going to be my standard app deployment to all customers with some VM testing.
This
Now
is
I've got no
great.
apps.
So you, by the way, I don't want to be rude. You instructed me to
I did.
interject when questions came up.
I did. There will be no pauses if you do not interrupt me. So
Yeah,
please
exactly.
do.
I'm trying to find an opportune spot. The question is, does RoboPack have an option to set active or scheduled hours for app patching like we can do via RMMs or how OS's patch work into?
Yeah. So we rely fully on Intune. So the answer is no because Intune doesn't support that. But if and when Intune does support that, then we will adopt that. So we are when I say we're pushing to these groups, we're literally creating assignments in Intune for these deployments. So if there was an opportunity for Intune to do that, then we would have a button that said that. And actually, if I go in and show you just editing this, all of the Intune options that you have for these are up here. So if there was a do on this schedule or whatever, then we would absolutely adopt that as soon as it was there because it's a common ask and it's definitely something we need. But Intune doesn't have that, and we're not going to build it because it isn't in Intune, and we don't want agents on devices and that kind of thing.
We'll have a
Thank
chat
you for
with
the question.
Leor.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, was that it? Cool.
That's the one for now.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, fine, good. So we have, where was I? We have no devices, no apps in this group yet. We just created a nice structure, and structure is always good. Now, what I will do before I add some apps to the group, I'll show you one more thing, which I think is interesting. That right now we're deploying to all devices, right? There's going to be situations where you're not going to be deploying to all devices, and you want to deploy maybe developer apps. I'll very quickly show you a group that we can have called developer apps here. And maybe we do some IT testing, just as a quick, in the MSP, we do some VM testing. What was it called? Cyber, yeah, there he is. So we'll then deploy it to the developers in one of my customers. And there they are. So this is my standard developer app group. Now, the issue is that there's going to be, maybe we're deploying VS Code or some app that developers need. And all we're doing is deploying to this group. I mentioned we're going to create an assignment in Intune for this group called developers. That means that if there's someone with an app like VS Code or any other app that isn't in this group or this group, but they're VM, so it's unlikely, then they're not going to get patched. And that's a big gap. And we don't know how big that gap is. So we need to solve that problem. And we solve that with something called radar tracking, because tracking allows us to track devices that have apps installed. Again, completely agentless, using Intune's native capability, we will add devices to a group. I'll show you the group name called Robopack Radar Tracking. The app name, in this case, because it's in a group, it has to be the name of the flow because there's multiple of them, but the app name and then the architecture. And the idea is that we'll just create all those groups as we find them. So as I add an app to this group, it will look for VS Code across all devices and create a group with this name with those devices in, and also target them at the same time. So it says live with Wave 2 because as Wave 2 goes live, we're going to start targeting these ones as well. So not only are we pushing to devs, we're pushing to everyone who already has these apps, which is a huge deal when you're looking at compliance across organizations. So I haven't even added any apps yet because it's so fun creating the structure that I keep forgetting to add apps. Let me go back and add an app to our, where's the VM testing one? Now this thing I'm showing you now, yes, it's a demo environment. It's only a demo environment because it's got demo tenants in it, but this is the full production environment. So as I'm clicking through, it's very responsive, very easy to use. That's not me showing a pretend environment. That is a full production environment that we're using right now. When I
So while
choose,
you're doing that, someone wants
yeah,
to know the recipe a little bit. They say, does it use Intune apps or software inventory to see what device have apps?
it uses two sources. So if I go back to Radar, I'll show you those. We have Intune apps, so the apps that are in Intune. So if I was to go into this customer's Intune tenant, you would see the app in Intune as an Intune app. And then discovered apps is literally the discovered apps feature. So if I head over to the tenant, which is this one here, and go into, I can never remember where it is, I think it's monitor and then discovered apps, this is where we get that information from. And we simply match the publisher, the app name, a little bit of fuzzy matching because the vendors never get those correct every time they push a version. So
Yep.
we kind of have to fix that, but then it ends up in this list.
Awesome. And then another one that came up is, do you support GCC High?
We do not.
And I
Um,
should say it is the same for Augment as well at this time.
yeah, no, we do not. We would love to. I don't think we're able to at the moment. So we have this list that is ready for patching, and I want to add some apps. So here I am. I'm just going to go for FileZilla and just a couple of these apps that we're going to go for. Let's choose some random ones. And I'm just going to go for the standard app with VM testing, add those 5 apps, and that's the task. So I've now set up, I maybe have a few weeks of conversation with the customers to figure out exactly how they want these apps deploying. Then we show them the list and they tell us which apps we want they want us to manage, and then we add them just like I did there, and now we are pushing these apps. These apps will be deployed to the customer tenant as Win32 applications that have been fully tested by us before they go to you. And then ideally, because you took my example, you test them fully yourself before they go to the customer. And then the customer hopefully tests them before they go to their customers. And then it goes to all devices. That would be the perfect flow for an MSP. And the idea is that you can add all of your customers in Wave 2, Wave 3, whatever you like for the simple applications. Because every time FileZilla release a new version, it will appear in this list. It will be pushing a new version of this application, starting with Wave 1. Regardless of where it is, it will start again with Wave 1, start with your testing. Now, there'll be some questions and some people with very specific applications where you might want it to never start with Wave 1 until it's finished all the way through to Wave 3. We have that capability. You can change that in the advanced properties up here. You can specify whether it's going to immediately start or whether it's going to wait until. So we get by default we wait until the final version, the final wave before pushing the new version, or we can pause the current version as soon as a new version comes out, or we can run both alongside each other. We tried to make it as flexible as possible because every customer has different needs, and we aren't going to tell you how to deploy apps. So we just make it possible for you to automate the majority of it.
Speaking of flexibility, someone is asking if we can specifically schedule at least a time that these waves run at, like avoid 9 to 5, for example.
No, so we have no concept of time because we are working with vendors who also have no concept of time. The application vendors will push an app update at any point during the day, and they will yeah, we check for new versions from the repositories that we have access to every 30 minutes. And within 5 minutes, it's gone through our testing, and then it goes to your testing. And so, no, there isn't a button for that. But what we do have is the ability to say, hey, rather than if I take my customer out of here and say, this is our MSP tenant, we don't want anything to go live during 9 to 5. Well, wrong button, we just choose proceed mode manual. And that
Got it.
means that at no point will it automatically move from wave 1 to wave 2. We can go in there and we can change ourselves. And we've got an API where you can go in and make that change automatically if you wanted to do that. So again, flexible, it's designed to make your business possible, really.
So an API could trigger the request to push it through manually?
Uh, to, I believe the API will allow you to unpause a flow.
Okay.
Um, I think that is possible. I can't remember exactly, but it's a pretty extensive API, and it's actually possible to just browse through it by going to the API integrations thing here. So maybe towards the end we can take a look.
Okay. And someone asked, they mentioned that there's now a new, in quotes, app inventory section, and they want to know if you're planning on leveraging this, as they say, it will gather a more complete and detailed app list.
Yes, yeah, we would love to do that. We would love to have access to that. It is currently not accessible, as far as I'm aware, via Graph API
Okay.
to the public. So, for example, you as a customer or as an MSP can't query that endpoint, so neither can we. And we would love to use that. So if and when Microsoft make that available to the public, then we would love to use that. But for now, we have a it works really well with the discovered apps. A lot of people don't like the discovered apps thing because it is a little slow initially to pick up those apps. But most of our customers, when you implement RoboPack, have already been using Intune for more than 7 days. So they already have all of the apps in the discovered apps thing. So they've got the majority of them. And so that's where we get that information.
Perfect. And then you might get to this because I've been cutting you off a little bit, but someone asked if when there's a failure, does it retry automatically or how does it handle failures?
Yeah, it fully depends on the failure. So there's a few stages at which a failure could happen, obviously. If we are testing it when it comes from the vendor, if we test it and it doesn't work, like we try to install it and we try to uninstall it, if it doesn't install, we're not going to push it to you just so you can have a really bad experience. We are going to test it ourselves and then say, hey, this is broken. And then we'll push back to the vendor and say, this is broken. Usually, by the time we get to a broken app, because we're checking every 30 minutes, it's usually the vendor that's fixed it by the time we get to it within an hour or so. So we just wait. for them to push a new version. We also do quite an extensive amount of security checking on those apps that come from the vendors, and sometimes because we're checking these apps every 30 minutes, the vendors are still uploading their stuff to the repos by the time we see them. And so, for example, they push a manifest first. We'll pick up that new version, and we'll be checking the manifest matches the file that they've said they've uploaded, and it's not finished uploading yet, and we have to wait a little while for that to finish uploading. And next time we check in the next 30 minutes, it's there and ready. So a lot of the failures are transient.
Yep.
If it fails after that, well, look, we've tested it in our virtual machine. So for you, as either an MSP or a customer, it didn't work for you, but it worked for us. So it's taken away that small check in your head of, does this app actually work? Is it just a broken application, or is it our environment or the customer's environment that is blocking this particular app install? So it puts you one step ahead of that troubleshooting phase because you know if it came to you, it definitely worked when we tested it. And
Very cool.
not only did it work, we can show you the documentation that shows you that it works. So when I go into one of the packages that we've pushed, for example, this one, I can show you the app documentation, which will show you the install command, the uninstall command, detection method, all of the log files, and the uninstall log file. So you can take a look at what happened when we installed it, and all the changes made on the computer, and the app files, and all that kind of stuff. So we evidence that we have tested it before it gets to you.
That's neat.
Any more questions before I ramble on?
List is empty. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
We're loving the demo.
So I have forgotten where I was up to, but I know that I was somewhere over here with my VM testing. So yeah, we've got these apps. Now every time a new version gets released, we're going to push the new version out. It'll start with wave one. Obviously, we went through that. And that's all you need to do for these apps. Simple as that. We have a repository of 30,000 applications. Most of your apps are going to be there. There's going to be a load of apps that aren't there. And so we need to solve that problem as well. And we will help you solve that problem. And I'll get to that in just a few moments. Firstly, let me go back to the demo tenant here with Radar. And any questions before I move on? Because the next bit is kind of all one bit.
One go. Someone asked if you also do Mac, iOS, Android.
Yeah, perfect. So iOS and Android, the apps there are already packaged. There's already a closed ecosystem for each of those. We can't really get involved in that. Mac OS, we are absolutely touching that next. We have a roadmap, and it is the number one requested item on our roadmap. And we literally have put all of our devs on it. It is very, very close to being finished for private preview. So yes, but we have been saying that for quite a while. It is a very, very requested feature. We want to get it right, and we don't want to just push a few applications with Mac because most customers, when they start using it, will want to move fully to Intune to manage the apps for Mac on that. So we don't want to do it half baked. We want to get it right.
Yep. And then someone asked about if we want to push out HPIA, the HP Workstation Update tool for BIOS and drivers, do we have to build all that logic in Intune first, or can we do it directly in RoboPack? And if
I
that brings you to a later part of the demo, that's fine.
So I don't know specifically about that when you say the logic in Intune. If there's I think there's some integration into driver management with native tools, and I'm not in that space anymore, so I haven't kept up with that. We can push to the app for you. That's simple as that. We can push the app, and we can help you configure that application on the endpoint, whether that's script or all the other stuff you might need to do that I will cover in just a few moments.
They said download the latest, unpack, and deploy via CLI, basically. So I think that's what you're going to get to in a moment.
We'll see. If it doesn't solve it, then please come back to us with a question.
Sounds good.
Um, Underneath this list of apps that are ready for patching, we have this really awful list of apps that are not ready for patching. And this list is the apps that we haven't got in the library. And there's a weird one here for Adobe Acrobat. We do actually have it, but it's just because we got the publisher wrong when I installed it. But we have, if you ever wanted to package McAfee Personal Security for whatever reason, then you absolutely need to do that. So The issue is we haven't got access to these apps. There's loads of apps where the vendor locks it behind a paywall or locks it behind some licensing wall where you need to log in to get the binaries. We can't get them, so you need to give us them. And so we allow you to upload them for us and we guide you through the process of packaging it. Now, the process for most organizations is to package applications by downloading the source file, figuring out the install command and the uninstall command detection method, putting all that data into Intune, creating an Intune Win random thing and pushing that to Intune and hoping for the best. Really, that's how app packaging has worked in Intune for many, many years. We want to make that a little bit better. So with this button up here, custom app, I can click on that and I can see I've got a zip file. I could just take that zip file and drop that in if I like, if that had the app in it, or I can go in here and grab some MSI if I want to use an MSI. But if I did that, you'd probably say I was cheating because we've got an executable here, which is more difficult than an MSI to push via Intune in most cases. So I'll click on that one and just choose open. Now we've scanned it. That little thing that went across there, if you saw that, was just it scanning to see which type of application it is. So we now know that, which is useful because that helps us with the next step, which is telling you what the silent install command is. We don't have it in the library. That isn't populated from the library, that's populated from the executable. So the executable knows how to install it silently. It just doesn't tell you. So we have that there, which is useful. We've got the name, the publisher, the version. Great. We don't have the uninstall command, so that's another thing we need to do. We haven't got the detection methods. That's one more thing we need to do. We want to analyze and test it, though, and we want to wrap it in PSADT, the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit, because that's the right way to deploy applications at scale with consistency and allow loads of new things that we want to talk about in a few moments. So we're going to wrap every application in PSADT. All I do is choose continue and create, and it will start uploading that content to RoboPack for me. Now, hopefully the internet is kind to me today and it will start uploading nice and quickly, because once it gets there, we will allocate a Windows 11 LTSC virtual machine from our suite of many virtual machines hosted, physically hosted in our location, and it will, there it is preparing the virtual machine, it will start to install or copy the files and then install the application on our VM. Now this progress bar across the bottom here, I thought for many months before I asked sheepishly, why is our progress bar broken? It's not a progress bar, it is a CPU tracker. Because this was an internal tool originally, it is showing the lowest CPU that we'll have, which is 4%, the average CPU during the install, and the max CPU, or something like that. I realized it wasn't a CPU tracker when I left the room. So this is just installing, and in a few moments we will have finished the install. And when we finish the install, we have a machine that has the app installed. So we can then look through the virtual machine, figure out how to uninstall it. So in a few seconds, you'll see it finishing. It'll look through the registry and say, hey, I found the uninstall string. I'm going to try the uninstall. So it goes away and tries to do the uninstall for us. And see if it does it. There you go. So it's going to do the uninstall now. And this shouldn't take too long. So hopefully in the next 30 seconds, it'll have finished the uninstall. But that means that I don't need to go and find the uninstall string. So that's helpful. It also means that by definition, I've got the detection method, which is what the computer looks like before you install it, after you install it, and after you remove it. And now it's finished. So when I go to the app documentation, we have the install command, the uninstall command, and the detection method like I showed you for the library application, the install log, everything that happened on the computer during this install, all of the add remove programs, all the files, even the ones that get left over afterwards. And if I scroll down, we've got the registry changes. This can be downloaded as a PDF, and it's only got the word RoboPack in it once. You can customize this and give it to your customers and say you built this documentation exactly for them. We don't care about it. So you can take this and say you've created all this documentation for them. If you don't want to give it to them as a PDF, it's always here for you to download for every version of the app that we create for you and every version of the library application that we create for you. Nevertheless, if I go back to this app, you see I've got this setup flow button here. I can choose setup flow and add it to my machine testing group and choose create. And I've just packaged an application that wasn't in the library. That was pretty simple to package, to be fair, but I've done it with one hand using the mouse, and I haven't touched the keyboard, and it's done in about 3 minutes. So pretty good from an app
And
packaging
we've done
perspective.
this with the Augment app. We love it. And
Good.
I'll say, as someone who was a product manager at one of the large RMM vendors, I think most RMM vendors don't even do this with their app patching modules. And so I've seen MSPs spend a lot of time trying to get those strings because they're required for most of the other patching tools out there.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've taken an app that wasn't in the library and added it to your library that you can share across all your customers without additional cost or additional fees. It's natively multi-tenant. If the app isn't in our library, you add it and it's now in your library. Any questions before I move on to the next topic?
We're good.
Super. So this was a very simple application. I go back to it, you can see it installed, and I'll just quickly show you the install command. Pretty easy to install, right? That it was lucky, if anything. I chose a very easy application. There's going to be applications where you need to add a license file or a license string or something ridiculous that the vendor needs you to do. And let me show you that. I'm going to go and add a custom setting because with the custom setting, we can say, actually, I want to add a parameter, which might be, let's do VPN-server equals 1, for example. And then we may need to add a registry value, so just go ahead and add it there. Or maybe a file, just add it wherever you like. Maybe a license file in the drive root. Makes sense. Vendors are insane. We'll put that there. Next, we can add some PowerShell. Maybe I need to do a pre-install script before this actually works for this particular app. I can just type that there, all good. Now, this works, but what if you've got multiple customers and they have different VPN servers? Well, fine, let's change this to VPN 0, and then I'll add another customer here, maybe for the demo tenant, and then for the dev tenant customers, we have different VPN servers. So I just add theirs there. So I've got, let me grab it from here, so I don't need to type it, and put VPN 1, and then for this customer, VPN 2. And so now all of these other settings I can change, the registry values, files and stuff I can change per customer. If it's inherited, then it'll work across all customers. So this top one, all tenants, the file I added will go to all tenants, but these customized things that I've just changed per tenant will obviously be per tenant. And the beautiful thing is that when I choose save settings, it creates an Intune win for each of those customers. So it's not one Intune win with all the settings in. It's three in this case, three Intune wins for all those settings that we've got, which takes the idea that I just showed you that we can package an app in 3 minutes. Now you can package an app for all of your customers with customizations in 3 minutes.
Yep.
That's
That's terrific.
powerful. So, any questions before I move on to the next topic?
Nope, that's all for now.
Okay, so what we've got is I don't know how long I've been talking now, probably 30 minutes.
Getting close there. Yep.
That is all RoboPack does. It's solving the app packaging and patching problem with all these little things that you need to think about when you're an MSP and when you're an enterprise with lots of different app types and ways to deploy stuff. But this, if you think about how Intune takes this, there is one button in Intune for applications. You can't talk about it for 30 minutes without having to break into a notepad file and do scripts. This is solving it all for you in one place with role-based access control, with multiple tenants, all that kind of stuff, all in one place. So that's what we've built, and that's all we're going to build with this. We're not going to add some kind of agent analytics stuff. We're just going to stick with what we've got.
Beautiful. So I'll take back over the screen. Just give me a quick second here. So one person did ask a question, but I think it targets me more. So the question is, does this overlap with existing Augment features? So I think we reach basically a perfect extension here of where Augment will stop, which is, we'll do the policy management within Intune, and then with the RoboPack integration that we are planning on doing, that will bring all the patching capabilities. I wouldn't call app policy management native patching per se. So another question just did pop in. So how much upload storage space is available for custom apps? But that would be in their own Intune, right?
No, well, yeah, I guess, but Intune doesn't limit storage space, and neither do we. So there isn't a number I can give you. We don't limit that.
Okay, perfect. So, um, again, I want to reiterate here what the value is that you would get if you come to Augment once we launch this integration in order to get your role pack, right? So I've talked about our GDAP integration, and with the GDAP and CSP integration, that will allow you to preload all your tenants in RoboPack. So essentially extending the RoboPack native multi-tenant integration so that you more quickly load all your customers. We, as Augment, have free prospecting capabilities within Augment. So anyone who signs up for RoboPack through us would get free M365 security and compliance prospecting capabilities. There's no war on pricing between RoboPack and Augment. We will be offering this at the same price, whether you go direct or whether you come through Augment, and you get the opportunity to consolidate your billing if you're already an existing Augment partner. So we've not yet built this integration. This is a pre-launch. We do have a waiting list. Don't know if my team will be dropping it in the chat here, but if you go to augment.com/waitlist dash sign up, here I'll drop it myself. Ah, there it is. My team is listening. I love it. And that's it. You can sign up. We'll reach out when we have the RoboPack integration connected, and we'll probably be doing more of these webinars as we lead into this launch. Um, So someone asked, yeah, again, doesn't Augment have an Intune add-on? This is another Intune add-on. So we do have Intune capabilities for sure through our policy management. We do not have patching capabilities today. So this is an offer that we'll be bringing together within the Intune family. Okay. I think those are all the questions that are popping in today. We really appreciate the time, everyone. I'll stick around for another 30 seconds or so to see if something else pops in.
We have another question in the Q&A.
Yeah, so it's still not clear whether this can be used for deployments.
Uh, for deployments, as in rather than patching. If that's the question, I'll answer that question while we
Go
wait
ahead.
for
Yeah, that sounds like it.
clarity. So yeah, all of those deployments that I was doing, all the assignments are either fresh deployments to an application. If the machine doesn't have it, then it will push that install version. If the machine already has it, then it will patch that version. It will do the right thing at the right time. So yeah, you can use it to populate a suite of machines that are fresh from autopilot or fresh from a new build, and it keeps them up to date as well. Obviously, the benefit is that it will use the latest version in autopilot rather than the old version that you had built, because we use supersedence in Win32.
So this means
That
someone
was the
can try
question.
and freshly manage their environment. And if it's an app within your catalog, they can choose them, put them through the waves. If they have a custom app that they need to launch, they can um, package it through your tool and then deploy it as well.
Yep.
So it would work for initial deployments. Terrific. Well, thank you very much for the time, Dean and RoboPack team. We really appreciate it. I don't see any further questions coming in, so we'll call it time and give everyone back 15 minutes. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Good to speak to you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.